permission is sought for the conversion of the church hall to 3 numbered dwellings. And as you will recall from the site inspection, the church was to the front of the site, fronting Hamlet Road, and the hall, subject to the application, is to the rear. This is the current layout of the site, so the church leading down Meeting Walk and into the hall, which has got an open volume. And this is the proposal for the conversion. And you can see that this has been designed to retain a central open space. So this would be the access through into the larger unit with a central open space providing the kitchen area and living space, with the spiral staircase leading to the first floor, and on the ground floor providing a bedroom and bathrooms and utility room. Also, as you come into the main entrance, there would be 2 smaller units located off of that entrance on either side, and then there will be parking provided for 2 vehicles at the front. This is the first floor layout, so you can see here is the spiral staircase from the larger unit leading up to the 2 bedrooms, and then access through into that galleried living space. And again, coming up from the ground floor, 2 staircases, which we saw from our site visit, into single bedrooms with bathrooms. This is the section showing the hall in relation to the church. And this is the elevations, and you can see on this bottom bit of the slide, this is where those windows are located. And we looked at those on the site and their relationship with number 2. What was that road? So if you remember, we looked at the relationship with this one to Mount Road, and that the windows were along this elevation, and we looked at their proximity to those windows that are into Mount Road. And the agent has now submitted this section to us, which shows the floor level and the position that they're suggesting for the obscure glazing, and as well as ground floor. But what I have suggested is that we amend the condition so that we would actually ask for details, a further section which would show exactly how this floor level will be finished as part of the development, so that then we can assess how far the obscure glazing would need to be. So we would ask for those details to be submitted and then agreed. I'll just run through the photographs. So that's the view from Hamlet Road looking up Meeting Walk. And this is the view of the front of the building with the gravestones to the front, which we saw on site. And that's the view of where the area will be regraded to provide the parking. And then this is a couple of photographs from inside the hall with that galleried area. So, therefore, the recommendation is one of approval subject to the amendment to Condition 5 to require the exact amount of obscure glazing to be determined by the submission of section drawings and installed prior to occupation and retained thereafter, and the addition of a condition requiring details of the siting of the gravestones to be submitted and agreed. Thank you.
Right, I have down here possibly 3 public speakers on this one, and this is just on the hall at the back. This is not the entrance. So I have Anna Hughes, who is an objector. I have possibly a representative from Haverhill Town Council, or not, and I have Cliff Patton, who is the agent. In that case, we have just 2. Anna Hughes, you have 3 minutes to beat the clock.
Thank you. Yeah, I live in 2 Mount Road, which is the property that adjoins the church hall. I've just got a few sort of concerns and objections really. The main one being loss of privacy, both for myself and my family. We lose the privacy in our garden, which will be overlooked. Our bedroom window, as you saw on the site visit, is just a few feet away, and our sitting window also from the proposed residence's windows. So, you know, we're obviously worried about overshadowing and being overlooked really and losing our privacy. I'd like the height of the glazing to be higher really. I think you talked about halfway. I don't think that would, given the size of the hall and the sort of overshadowing nature that it has over us, I don't think halfway would protect our privacy enough. Another point is that our kitchen and utility room windows are going to be going into the proposed residence's garden. So I don't know where we are with sort of security and noise would be perhaps an issue. And also traffic on Hamlet Road. Hamlet Road is a very busy road, which is a single carriageway from Elmhurst Road to Mountain Road because of parking, which is very tricky, and I'm not sure how. I think the development may impact even more on that, making it more sort of dangerous with cars turning in and out. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Manager is going to put you on order rest. Mr. Brown.
Afternoon. The issues in relation to the application and the application that will follow this sit together, and the details you have, I don't propose to go over that. I just wanted to highlight the church's position in the process that they've been through. This and the following application represent a few years of soul searching and great concern within the church to reach this point. They are in a position where the buildings being inherited are too large for them and the community users who now use the hall. And they do not have the financial income to be able to properly manage and maintain those buildings, and you would have seen that from your site visit. But this proposal is an attempt by the church to be able to preserve both buildings whilst moving and focusing their attentions on the church building itself. That required finding alternative uses for the hall, which were viable uses and would generate enough income to justify the significant repairs that are carried out. The reason it's taken a while is that the church looked for a long while at trying to find a way of getting the church hall to work as a community facility. But there is not the demand that would justify in any way being able to borrow the money to do the refurbishment work that's required. So the alternative use of residential was considered the most appropriate and conforming use. And you will see that there's been a lot of negotiation. The application previously was withdrawn for further alterations. And the church are concerned of the impact that this will have on adjoining residents, but perhaps pointing out that if the intensification of use were achievable, that would probably have a much bigger impact on the residents who are used to a very underused building at the moment, and unfortunate building that's crumbling away. So we have worked and incorporated the facilities on to be able to reduce the sound transmission through the windows on the boundary. We're happy to put obscured glazing in a way that everyone feels comfortable with, and to do other things that may also mitigate against any effect on the residents. And I'm aware that there are other issues that will have to go under discussion in relation to the immediately adjacent buildings, to ensure that multiple matters and things like that, which are not covered in this application, can be comfortably dealt with. So the church have been through a difficult process. They are aware of the implication on residents, but on balance and on consultation, this seems to be the best option for maintaining both buildings.
Thank you. Right, Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I've got some personal experience of developing a building not too dissimilar to this, with balconies and open spaces. It's not easy. I think what the scheme that we've got before us, despite some difficulties, is probably as reasonable a scheme as can be achieved in this location. So I'm happy to move approval of it. My one concern remains some confusion over what is intended for the balcony. The case officer told me on site that it was intended to level it. But one of the diagrams that we've got there shows the difficulty of doing that in relation to the ground floor windows. So I'm very happy that the condition 5 is being amended to require specific details of how that's going to be done. Okay, that's in relation to the glazing requirement for the upper windows. But I'm also concerned about the effect of obscuration of the lower windows by potentially obscuration of the lower windows if the balcony is levelled to the level of the front of it, if that makes sense. But thank you, I'm moving approval.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Stevens, you wish to go now?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, it was a very interesting site inspection with a magnificent Victorian structure. It would be worth a fortune in Pimlico, this conversion. But I do think there are sufficient measures that can mitigate any problems of overlooking and noise. I don't see the problem with the balcony. It just means that the windows have to be obscured to a slightly higher level. I think that would detract from the overall architectural features of that central core of this hall, which is magnificent. You either love or hate Victorianism, but this was beautiful. Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could Gemma put up the diagram, please, showing that the slope of the first floor windows? Okay, well, I mean, that's the area which I did contact the case officer about, because I wasn't quite satisfied that in fact the glazing that was originally proposed was enough to satisfy the resident who's turned up here and has pointed out waited 3 hours to have her 3 minutes, so I think we should be considerate of her views. So I think if the amendment to number 5 takes away the possibility of her being overlooked, I don't think it's overshadowing it, of being overlooked, I think that would satisfy me with regard to this application. But I would like to just suggest that perhaps when discussing it with the applicant about where the glazing should go, perhaps the resident should be invited along to have her say in that, so she's satisfied with it in the end, so that everybody's agreed. We've got a sort of compromise here that we go to the glazing that is required by the case officer and by the applicant and by the resident who has turned up here and says done very well to wait all this time and have 3 minutes. But so I think we should do that. But apart from that, I'm happy with the whole overall plan, although I'm not happy with the next application. But never mind.
Thank you. Councillor Monmouth.
Thank you, Chairman. One of the good things about sitting on this committee is going on a visit and walking into these wonderful buildings that you never knew existed. It's fantastic. So, but it does present a huge challenge to make this into residential, 3 residential units, I think, and you know, all credit to somebody who can achieve that. I think I understand entirely where the resident is coming from, the neighbour. Change is always unsettling, but the fact is that the footprint of the building isn't going to change, so overshadowing won't really be an issue. We stood in the balcony and I can completely take her point about the possibility of people looking into her bedroom window, but it just depends on how that balcony is treated. You'd have to be pretty tall if it comes down to the first lower level to actually look out of the window. So yes, you know, if the church is willing to give her the opportunity to have a look herself and see from the hall's point of view where the site will be, and when they come up with a plan for how to treat that balcony, but it's going to be a challenge. And good luck to anyone who can achieve it, because it's a fantastic building and does need preserving. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Marks.
Thank you, Chairman. How does this central area work? Who's going to maintain it? Are these tenants that are going to go in the building, or are they have freehold, or how's it going to be maintained?
This central area, if I go to the first floor one, so this will all be part of one dwelling. So whether that's sold or rented, this will actually be their living room, dining room, kitchen, and then going upstairs, these people also have access to this gallery, and you know how they choose to use that will be entirely up to them. But it'll just be all solely in connection with that one slightly larger unit.
Okay.
I'm not sure, Councillor Cotton, but I think your little point about negotiation and being in on talks has already been agreed. Right, any more? Okay, proposed and seconded for approval. All those in favour, please show. Councillor Wakeland, afraid you left the room for the part of it, so you can't. And those against?
It was 10-4 and then against is carried for approval.
Could I add my abstention?